Hey everyone! Today we're exploring another chilling and disturbing case. If you'd like to support the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay engaged. It really means a lot. I truly appreciate it. Now, take a deep breath and let's dive in. He was declared dead in his sleep. Peaceful, natural, tragic, but the autopsy said otherwise. Bruised lungs, sedatives in his blood, and the woman crying the loudest at his funeral? She might have been the one who killed him. Marcus Ellison, 42, a retired firefighter, a father of 3, a respected man in Linton Falls, Georgia, a town where Sunday service was sacred and everyone knew your name. He lived a quiet life with his wife Angela, the daughter of the town's beloved pastor. They were a model couple, present at every church gathering, running soup kitchens, hosting Bible studies. But all of that changed on the morning of February 19th. Angela, he's cold. I can't wake him. Please. I think he had a heart attack in his sleep. Marcus was pronounced dead on arrival. No wounds. No foul play suspected. Case closed. At least for 72 hours. Angela Ellison played the grieving widow flawlessly. Black veil. Tears. A eulogy that had the entire congregation sobbing. But when the toxicology report came in, the case reopened. The autopsy showed traces of midazolam, a powerful sedative, in his bloodstream, internal bruising around his ribs and chest. Subtle signs of suffocation. Dr. Leah Monroe, the county medical examiner, called the findings inconsistent with natural death. Marcus didn't just stop breathing. Someone stopped his breath. Detectives began looking at Angela. She refused an interview. She declined a polygraph. But what she couldn't hide was the life insurance policy, signed just 9 days before Marcus' death. $500,000. Angela's name. Sole beneficiary. The question became simple. Was Marcus worth more to her dead than alive? In her interview, Angela mentioned Pastor Jonathan. She said he was her spiritual rock after Marcus' death. But what she failed to mention was that she'd been having an affair with him for over 2 years. Burner phones, hidden motel bookings, anonymous gift payments. It wasn't just betrayal. It was premeditation. Detectives discovered Angela had Googled how to suffocate someone without bruises. Will sleeping pills show up in autopsy? Life insurance payout after sudden death. And then they found a deleted voice memo on her phone. A recorded fight between her and Marcus. Marcus' voice. I know about the money, Angela. I know about him. I swear, if you think I'm just gonna... Angela was arrested for first-degree murder. But what she told detectives next changed everything. She claimed she didn't act alone. And she named someone no one expected. Pastor Jonathan Webb. Her lover. Her pastor. Her alleged co-conspirator. Pastor Jonathan wasn't just a preacher. He was a local celebrity. Author of 2 books. Over 60,000 followers on Instagram, and a private counseling service, strictly for married women. His sermons often targeted infidelity, sin, and moral decay, all while he was allegedly meeting Angela in motel rooms an hour outside town. Pastor Jonathan, archived sermon. God sees behind closed doors. He sees the lies, the secrets, the unclean beds. He was right. God was watching. So were the police. Angela claimed she was manipulated, that Jonathan used spiritual grooming, saying she was chosen by God for him, that Marcus was holding her back from her destiny. She said he pressured her to let go of her earthly marriage and promised that once Marcus was gone, they'd build a kingdom couple image together. Detectives found hundreds of texts. You were meant for more than being his wife. I prayed on it. He's not your future. The prophecy only begins once the past dies. They weren't love texts. They were recruitment letters for murder. But it gets darker. Phone records showed another number. One neither Angela nor Jonathan would explain. A prepaid burner line that pinged near their church and near the Ellisons' home the night before Marcus died. Even more disturbing, a deleted voice memo was recovered from Jonathan's iCloud backup. Jonathan whispered voice. Just make sure he drinks the tea. I'll pray over it before you give it to him. The tea, the sedative, the suffocation, and then a Venmo transaction. From Jonathan's church business account. Label, blessing. Amount, $5,000. Recipient, unknown. Under pressure, Angela broke down. Tearfully, she told investigators something they weren't expecting. Jonathan didn't act alone. There was a third person in the plan. Someone who helped make Marcus go to sleep. Someone who came into their house the night he died. But when detectives asked for a name, Angela paused and said, "Underscore, I'll tell you everything, but I want protection." Underscore, so now we had a dead husband, a cheating wife, a manipulative pastor, and a mystery accomplice. The truth was closing in, but the real architect of Marcus Ellison's murder might not be who you think. Angela's request was simple: protection in exchange for a name. Detectives leaned in. She whispered it, Sister Evelyn, a name that shocked investigators. Evelyn Wade was no stranger. She wasn't just a congregant. She was a church's lead intercessor, a spiritual advisor known for midnight prayer calls and speaking in tongues. But behind the holy veil, Evelyn had secrets of her own. According to Angela, Evelyn didn't just pray with her the night Marcus died. She showed up at the house, carrying a white cloth, a thermos of herbal sleep tea, and a small vial. Angela recorded confession. She said God told her this was a spiritual assignment, that Marcus's soul was already lost, that I had to let him go in order to fulfill my purpose. Angela claims Evelyn led her in prayer, read Psalm 91 over Marcus as he slept, and instructed Angela to anoint him with oil. But it wasn't oil. It was midazolam. Evelyn was arrested quietly during morning devotion. Inside her purse, a worn-out Bible, a burner phone, and a handwritten list titled Deliverance Targets. Marcus's name was number 4. The previous 3 names, men from the church who had died unexpectedly between 2021 to 2023, all reportedly natural deaths. Now, under reinvestigation, in her final confession, Angela detailed the plan. Pastor Jonathan convinced her Marcus was blocking her calling. Evelyn prayed with her, supplied the sedative, and coached her through suffocation without violence. Angela placed a pillow over Marcus's face while Evelyn held her hands and prayed. Let the soul be released. It wasn't a murder, she said. It was a sacrifice. You'd think that was the end. 3 co-conspirators, 1 dead husband, a web of greed, sex, and spiritual delusion. But in the final minutes of Evelyn's interrogation, she dropped a line that left everyone stunned. Evelyn, calm voice, saying, "I didn't choose Angela for this. He did. He picked her. Detective." "He? Who's he?" Evelyn paused, smiled, and said, "The man who's still preaching every Sunday like nothing happened." Is Pastor Jonathan more dangerous than we thought? Is Marcus Ellison really the only victim? And is there still someone else involved? Because one name keeps showing up in the background, and no one's asking the right questions. Yet, Pastor Jonathan wasn't just a man. He was a movement. He built New Hope Revival from a storefront church into a mega ministry with 3 satellite branches. He baptized your kids. He officiated your weddings. He preached at your grandmother's funeral. His sermons were passionate, charismatic, and always centered on loyalty to spiritual authority. Archive sermon clip. When a man of God speaks, you obey, not because he's perfect, but because he's positioned. Now, that line feels different. A retired coroner named Deborah Clay came forward. In a sealed letter to the DA, she revealed something chilling. In 2021, I signed off on the death of Deacon Harold Rivers. Sudden heart failure. But that wasn't the report I originally wrote. Her initial autopsy showed fluid in the lungs and elevated sedatives. She claimed she was pressured by Jonathan Webb. Deborah Clay, interviewed. He came to my office, told me God was testing me, said Harold's soul was at peace and the rest didn't matter. I was terrified and I changed the report. That was 2 years ago. Harold Rivers was also insured. And guess who signed a policy as witness? Angela. Over the next 2 weeks, more people came forward. A former secretary who says Jonathan kept blackmail files on his members. A young woman who claimed she was groomed at 17 during private counseling. A man who says Jonathan instructed him to discipline his disobedient wife. And a former usher who said, underscore, he didn't preach the gospel. He preached control. Underscore, behind the pulpit was a man building an empire, not with faith, but with fear. 2 Sundays after Angela's arrest, Jonathan held a healing and deliverance service. He stood on the altar weeping, blamed spiritual warfare for the scandal, claimed the devil was trying to destroy the anointed. Then he called Evelyn's name on stage, said she was being used by darkness, that she needed to repent. But Evelyn was already in jail. It wasn't a sermon. It was a message to anyone thinking of talking. With new testimony, old autopsies, and Evelyn's confession, the DA quietly assembled a grand jury. A subpoena was issued for Jonathan Webb. Church bank accounts were frozen. A sealed arrest warrant was drafted. But the night before the arrest, Jonathan disappeared. Gone. No trace. No passport activity. His church account drained $93,000 the day he vanished. The FBI is now involved, and that's when detectives uncovered one more name, buried in a file folder labeled Final Test. Inside the Final Test folder were a list of 5 names, a hand-drawn triangle labeled 3 must fall, 1 must awaken, 1 must rise, and a page with strange handwritten phrases like underscore, he who loses everything finds his crown. Underscore, death is the only baptism for leaders. Underscore, one name on the list was crossed out. Marcus Ellison, murdered, executed like prophecy. 2 others were marked delivered. They were both dead. One by natural causes. The other, a suicide ruled unexplained. In the weeks before Jonathan vanished, he'd been planting seeds of a public redemption, tearful sermons about a coming storm. Instagram captions like, underscore, I must ascend before I can rise. Underscore, my trial is my transfiguration. Underscore, a new YouTube channel with cryptic teachings titled The Path Beyond the Cross. Was it marketing or was it preparation? Because what investigators found next flipped the story upside down. The other 2 names in the folder, Detective Marlon Hayes, the lead on Marcus' case. Tasha Lee, a former choir leader who had publicly left the church in 2020 and accused Jonathan of abuse. Both of them, within weeks of Marcus' death, reported break-ins, threatening notes, and strange vehicles parked outside their homes. Tasha had filed 3 restraining orders, denied due to insufficient evidence. Detective Hayes' tires were slashed. His wife reported someone following her from the grocery store, but there was no proof until a security camera caught someone outside Tasha's house, wearing Jonathan's old clergy robe. Interpol joined the case after uncovering that Jonathan Webb wasn't his real name. His birth name was Christopher John Rice, born in Alabama, foster system, no known parents. In 2003, he was a suspect in the death of a youth group leader. Case dismissed. He moved to Texas, started preaching under a new name, eventually relocated to Georgia, and became Pastor Jonathan Webb. He built a church empire on the ashes of his past. And every few years, someone around him conveniently died. But the most shocking discovery, the 5th name in the folder, Angela Ellison, his lover, his accomplice, the woman who killed for him. Under her name were 3 chilling words written in red ink. She knows too much. Angela is now in isolation. No visitors. No letters. She's reportedly stopped eating. Was she next on his list? Or did she already know that she was never going to survive this story? Marcus Ellison thought he was married to a woman of God. Angela thought she was chosen by God. But in the end, they were all serving one man's delusion and one man's plan, Pastor Jonathan Webb, or Christopher John Rice, or whoever he really is. Because while his crimes finally came to light, he hasn't. 2 weeks after the sealed arrest warrant was leaked, the FBI entered the case. Their focus? Financials, digital activity, travel history. Jonathan's last known withdrawal, $93,100. emptied from a church business account labeled Disaster Relief. Footage confirmed he used a disguise, glasses, trimmed beard, and a baseball cap reading Faith Wins. They traced him as far as Atlanta. After that, nothing. No flights. No bus tickets. No credit cards. Like a ghost in the system. But ghosts leave shadows. The FBI's cyber team dug deeper. His Apple ID pinged in Memphis. Then a temporary email address was created using an old sermon title. Third Day Awakens at protonmail.com. A VPN routed traffic through Romania. 3 days later, a private YouTube live streamed for 4 minutes before vanishing. Just a black screen. No face. No voice. But the title? Trial by Fire. Resurrection to come. His online followers, many still loyal, took it as prophecy. Federal agents took it as a taunt. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, a man named J. Michael Creed began hosting underground prayer meetings in a rented warehouse. He preached softly, focused on cleansing the corrupt church system. He told his small group he was once persecuted for being chosen. A former member tipped off authorities. But by the time they raided the building, he was gone, just like before. Left behind were a black leather Bible, a burner phone, and a notebook page with the phrase, "This is not the end, only exile." Authorities now believe Jonathan is being protected by what they're calling a doctrine-driven underground, a loosely connected group of hyper-religious radicals who believe Jonathan is a prophet under attack. They move him, fund him, hide him, and they silence anyone who tries to leave. An ex-member claimed she was told, "If you betray him, God won't punish you. He will." 6 months after the murder of Marcus Ellison, a direct message was sent to Angela in prison from an encrypted email. No name, no location. But the message said, "You did well. The rest was never meant for you. Stay silent. I still see you." Angela reportedly broke down sobbing, refused to speak to investigators. She has since entered suicide watch. She also requested a Bible, not from the prison library, but from the prophet. July 8, 2025, 2:03 a.m., an IP address pinged in Cape Verde, off the West African coast. The user accessed a private Dropbox account, registered under the name CJ Shepherd. Inside were photos of Jonathan in a foreign village, voice notes on spiritual migration, one final document, titled The Ark List. It contained 6 names. 3 were crossed out. 1 was Angela. 2 remain uncrossed. But the last line, "When I rise again, I won't build a church. I'll build a throne." Who are the final names on the list? Is Jonathan planning to return under a new identity? And can anyone stop him before someone else dies? Authorities redacted the names from public record, but through leaks and testimony, we now know who they were. 1. Kendra Holt, a former evangelist who fled the church and began publicly speaking out about spiritual abuse. 2. Anthony Ward, a childhood friend of Jonathan's and the last person who knew the real Christopher John Rice. Both were placed under protection. Both refused interviews. But Kendra posted one cryptic tweet. Underscore, they tried to crucify the truth, but we survived the burial. Underscore, Interpol officially listed Jonathan as internationally wanted under multiple identities. Jonathan Webb, Christopher John Rice, J. Michael Creed, and now Elijah Kadesh, a name used to register sermons on a fringe online Christian platform. Agents tracked him to Dakar, Senegal, but when they raided the location, he was gone again. What they found instead was more terrifying than his presence. Blueprints for a compound with labels like the Outer Court, the Gate of Fire, and the Holy Vault. Jonathan wasn't hiding. He was building. Using Kendra as bait, a sting operation was quietly launched. Authorities staged a speaking event in Ghana. They leaked false intel suggesting Anthony Ward would also attend. The event was streamed online. Viewers peaked at just under 4,000. One viewer triggered an alert. IP, Lagos, Nigeria. User ID, Prophet returned 777. Geolocation, within 2 kilometers. But just as a local SWAT team prepared to breach, the user disconnected. The tracker? A decoy laptop burning in a dumpster. No one has seen Jonathan Webb since. Angela remains in prison, silent. Evelyn Wade died last month. Heart failure. The victims' families gather every February 19th at Marcus Ellison's gravesite. They say a prayer, not for vengeance, but for truth, because here's the real horror. Jonathan may never be caught, but in some corners of the internet, his voice still echoes. What are your thoughts on this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with more stories, where each case isn't just about crime, but also offers a lesson for life.